We talk a lot about succeeding through challenge on the podcast. Let's just do some out-the-box thinking as we reach the end. Let's start with you, Kim. Let's say money were no object. Mm-hmm. We had a blank check in order to solve this problem of knife crime. What would your objectives be over, say, the next 3 years?
Gosh, 3 years is...
Not very long, is it?
It's not long enough.
20 years.
See, because I would be saying that we have to start further down the line, looking at initiatives like Sure Start that provide support to families at the very beginning, that increase children's educational attainment, that can then increase their ability to go on to school, that reduces child poverty and poverty in general, and having the resources then in terms of our schools. Let's look at reducing class sizes. Is an issue. Let's look at how education is delivered and meeting the needs of young people. Let's put in place lots of support initiatives within communities that provide early intervention and preventative work. That would be my ask.
And that in reality, that's a generational project, isn't it? But it's
It's not short term. No, it's a long term initiative that looks at some of these issues. Because as I think mentioned at the earlier, gun and knife crime is not going to be tackled by the police alone. It's very much about a whole integrated approach working across public and community voluntary organisations to look at the issues within communities.
Yeah, I agree. Emily, anything you would do in addition to what Kim has suggested with your big blank check?
I would give everybody a basic income, so nobody has to worry about whether they can afford food. I would make sure everybody had a house that was safe and secure and of a good quality. I would hire a ton of youth workers and social workers so that where, there is deliberate harm and, poor practice going on or abuse, that they have the resources to be able to go in, intervene and provide wraparound support. And I would improve the children in care sector to make sure that actually we're not kind of dumping children in care homes that are not fit for purpose and aren't properly regulated and just leaves them very vulnerable to being exploited.
These issues all need tackling, don't they, via a very committed plan, properly led, properly funded, with some real cooperation between all the different stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. And I think, in terms of trying to end on a bit more of a positive, I think there is work being done. These things are happening. In Liverpool, there is loads of work being done with our partners despite the limited resources. Mm-hmm. We are investing in, violence reduction projects. We're engaging with young people. We're investing in diversionary activities. We are, doing, attitude training. We're looking at how we can teach people about misogyny and racism. And, we're doing training with parents to understand the importance of early years. How do you invest in your child at an early year to give them the best start? We're doing perpetrator programs so that we know people who are committing domestic abuse, we can try and stop them and get people away from abusive relationships. So there is loads and loads of work being done. And there's a commitment there, I think, from all the partners. We just need that long-term sustainable funding so we can invest in it, and it will take time for us to see the results of it. So you just need a kind of a 10-year commitment strategy. And then I think actually we might be able to make some real headway.
Well, it's wonderful to finish on that positive. Kim, just from your perspective, obviously you're on the Education Select Committee, so you're at the coalface in terms of some of these discussions taking place at parliamentary level. Do you feel that there are some good discussions, some good projects being at least developed in Parliament which might support this enthusiasm and this positivity that Emily's just talked us through?
I think there are, because one of the inquiries that we're looking at the moment is around children's homes. We're looking at some of the issues that Emily raised about unregulated childcare. So it is, having the resources to be able to do that. But I just wanted to say that, as a city, we are a very resilient city, and there's some amazing work going on with our voluntary and community sector. And at the beginning of the pandemic, so many voluntary community organisations came together, in terms of mutual aid to provide a level of support within our communities. And I just think that was fantastic. And a lot of them are existing on, shoestring budgets very shoestring, but they're looking to do work in our communities to improve and provide better opportunities. And I think, with Steve Rotherham and his prosperity plan, working collaboratively with public sector organisations, I am very optimistic that things will change in the future, because at least we've got a driving force in our region to want to be able to do that. But we need extra powers, devolution powers, to be able to do more of that. But I am optimistic that with what we've got in the city at the moment, things are moving in the right direction, but we just need the government to say, put the hand in the pot and give us more money.
Well, quite, and it's wonderful to hear that optimism. I mean, from my position on this is really simple, that we must not feel frustrated by the fact we haven't found the solutions completely yet. We have to recognise that this is an issue which has existed for decades, which has arguably got worse. But to make these investments in our communities is a worthwhile investment which will bear returns, because it's not just that we'll get benefits in society, it's a worthwhile business for the government to pursue, because you will be able to create more jobs in the area. You'll be able to seek investment. Other businesses will be able to get involved and prosper. So this is not just sort of liberal, utopian thinking. This has a real world reality that will make all of our communities stronger, which will make our employment pool stronger, which will increase tax reserves, and which will decrease the need for investment in areas which we're currently having to prioritise. And the big positive that I'll end on is that we're clearly not in a perfect situation, but to have representatives like you, Emily, working with the police, and like you, Kim, working in Parliament, people who really are at the sharp end and who are in this for the greater good, is so reassuring. And I know everyone who's watching and listening, no matter where they are, will feel that as long as we can take this positive, realistic attitude forwards, there's lots of reasons to think that we're going to solve this problem and make people's lives better.